it's Yoshi Miller here from Warrior Concepts and the Bujinkan Moki no Tora Dojo. If you know me, then you also know why you're here, and you can't wait to see what I have in store for you today in today's lesson. You have to pardon me a little bit, though. I think I picked up a kind of a pre-winter cold. But we'll get through this anyway. So, if you don't know me, and you found this video lesson from somewhere out there on the World Wide Web, that's okay too. But to make sure that you're somewhere that you even want to be, let me tell you a little bit about myself really quickly. I'm a master teacher of the Japanese self-protection and personal mastery system known as Ninjutsu. You know, the ninja's martial and life mastery arts. I've been training in the martial arts since 1975 and in the art of Ninjutsu specifically since 1980 or 81, something like that. I'm also a former federal police officer, undercover black market and drug suppression agent, licensed private investigator, and bodyguard. Now, I'm not telling you these things to impress you, but I am telling you so that I can impress upon you that I bring something to the table as a teacher that very few people teaching any martial art or self-defense system can. And that's real-world experience at using what I teach you on the street where it matters. But that's enough about me for right now, and it should be enough to tell you whether or not you want to keep listening to me or not. Okay? Either way, I'm really excited about what I want to teach on today, and I really want to jump right in and get started. But before I do, just one quick note. I'm not sure when you're watching this, but today is December 3rd, which means that it's also the birthday of Masaki Hatsumi, the 31st generation Grand Master of the Togakuryu lineage, and 8 other traditional schools of Japanese martial arts systems that make up his international Bujinkan dojo. So, happy birthday, Sensei, from myself and all of my students, both local and long distance. The other thing that's going on right now, or soon will be for Ninjutsu and Bujinkan Budo Taijutsu clubs, schools, and training groups all over the world, is that people are holding training seminars commemorating what we call the Daikomyosai, or the celebration of the Great Cosmic Light. In fact, there's a really big one going on in Japan right now, led by Soke himself, commemorating his birthday. So to feel like they're a part of this grand occasion, groups from all over the world, composed of students who, for one reason or another, can't make it to Japan right now, are having their own little get-together, their own little soiree, if you will, if you can call training a soiree, right? Except that is for my students and myself. Now, before you go thinking that I'm some kind of nonconformist or I'm outside the status quo, let me assure you that we used to do the same thing. Okay? But with the growth of the Bujinkan, I just decided to do ours a little bit later. And there really is a good reason for that. And it just has to do with timing. You know, something that every ninja student should be getting really good at. And not just in a self-defense context either, but in life in general. You see, with everyone doing their own thing, and with the number of events that people have to choose from, coupled with the fact that most people here in the States just came off of one holiday and are getting ready to go into another really big one, Thanksgiving and Christmas, not counting New Year's, right? It just made better sense. That way people can get through the holidays and all the work and time off issues, family obligations, not to mention the draining of their wallets in the name of buying everyone and their brother a gift. And you can see why I hold mine in January. In fact, it just so happens that it coincides with my own birthday. But that's not the only reason I did it this way. By holding the event over the weekend of the 6th, 7th, and 8th of January, which is also my own training anniversary in the art, we can celebrate the Grand Master's birthday, my own training anniversary, and we can combine it with a special goal-setting ceremony for the New Year's called a Goma, which I call New Year's resolutions on steroids. And combining all those things together, you have the makings of an event that can really start your year off on the right foot. Okay? So, enough about all that. Happy birthday again, Sensei. And at 80, I hope to be able to live up to your example and still be going just as strong when I get there as you are doing right now. Okay, so I want to start off today's lesson by showing you this. Okay? Can you see it? I hope so. It's a list of the rules for MMA fights. Okay? There's like 25 here. Okay? And, you know, I can remember when this whole thing got started, right, way back, and there were only 3 rules, right? Then, not too long ago, there were 18. And now, there's 25 of them, and that's combining some on the same line, right? Multiple things on the same line. So, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but let me just highlight a few. Okay, let's see. basically there's no head-butting allowed, right? No biting, spitting, pinching, no eye gouging, right? And down here, right, there's even a rule against what they're calling timidity, avoiding contact. That means if you don't strike within a certain amount of time, you get penalized or disqualified. And here's one that every ninja is going to love, right? One down here, you can't fake an injury. Now, I bet you're wondering why I'm even bothering to go over this stuff. Well, for two reasons. One of which is that dealing with MMA fighters is one of the topics that I'll be teaching on at this year's Daikomusai event. But primarily because I get emails all the time from people who want me to teach them how to beat an MMA fighter. And when they write to me, I have to assume that they're asking from a self-defense perspective. You know, like they get jumped by one of these MMA guys on the street or wherever. Because I don't train MMA fighters. I'm not a sports fighter myself. Okay? My expertise lies in street survival, not competition fighting. So I have to come at it from that perspective. So why am I even bothering to go into the rules for MMA bouts? It's because this is the first lesson that I point to for people who are coming from a Ninjutsu self-defense perspective and want to know how to handle these guys. Okay? I tell them to review this list, and if you ever get jumped by one of these guys, go here first. Right? Remember, a self-defense situation is not the same thing as an organized, fair fight. Right? So go where he's least trained. Pretty simple, right? It's the ninja mindset. I mean, most of these rules are here for the fighter's safety because these are debilitating attacks. Things that are really difficult to deal with while you're training or while you're trying to pin somebody down or punch his lights out. Right? So make it easy on yourself. Go after these targets or employ these strategies. At the very least, when he realizes that you're not fighting fair, he'll be more cautious and put more distance between you and him. Sounds good to me. I hope it sounds good to you. Of course, he's going to call you a cheater and probably a few other choice words, but hey, you didn't volunteer to get into it with this guy. He jumped you. But of course, if you did start it, or you're just as guilty as he is and you want to fight, then do yourself and me a big favor. Don't call it self-defense. Call it what it is. It's a fight. It's two bulls trying to knock heads, one trying to be the winner. Okay? But what if you tried to go here and you still ended up getting all tied up by this guy? Then what? I'm sure you've seen these submission holds, restraints, and whatnot in some of these MMA bouts or whatever. If you haven't, take a look at a couple. So how do you deal with these things? Well, from the ninja's perspective, you first have to understand the way most people approach these things, the way most people think about these types of situations, and understand what kind of thinking goes into believing that you have to either fight harder or just tap out. Now, over the next week or so, I'll be sending you some other lessons to go along with this one, as long as you're on this special mailing list to get them. If not, just fill in the form or click the link that might be under this video to get to the subscription form, and then you'll get these other lessons. But for now, I want to just look at the way most people see this grappling and submission stuff. And like I showed you before, they think in terms of these rules, right? And then they think in terms of strength, you know, powering out and dominating the opponent. Or they think of agility and using tricky moves and being quicker or more flexible, whatever. You get the idea. But a ninja doesn't think that way. A ninja employs one of the oldest tactics in the book, one from Sun Tzu's Art of War, of employing strong points against weak. Now, I know I just said that everyone else thinks about using strength to dominate, and that a ninja does it differently, so what gives? Well, nothing gives, because I'm not talking about using the same kind of strength base, muscle-based strength and power that most people think of when they hear the word strength. I'm talking about using your strengths against his weak areas, like going after the easily damaged areas that are against the rules for the MMA guys. But it's even more than that. So let me show you. I'm going to use my handy-dandy whiteboard that I have here on the wall in my dojo. My students know that I use this thing a lot to convey the concepts and principles that are virtually impossible, they're virtually invisible to most people. And that's what I'm going to do now. What I want to teach you right now, before I end this video, is something that I call controlling the energy spikes. Here's how it works. In your muscles, you have this type of sugar called glycogen. It's there for quick bursts of energy and power, for short, quick, full power energy blast, for when the muscles have to work as hard as they can right now. But these stores are only good for like 7 to 11 second bursts. Then they need to rest and recharge the glycogen stores before they can go at it again. It's kind of like a jogger who suddenly breaks into a full-out wind sprint and runs as fast and as hard as he or she can for as long as they can before going back to just jogging, and sometimes even down to a quick walk. So here's the secret. Here's one of the hidden secret ways that a ninja uses strong points against weak points. See, here's his energy spike cycle. Looks like one of those radio signal waves, or those wave signs, or a rice paddy actually, if you look at it side on. So here are the spikes at full out glycogen burn, right? And here are the rests, okay? Here he can just hold on to what he's got and wait for the next wind, right? Here he can just go at it. And if you've ever watched an MMA fight, especially with the ground fighters, you'll see this. There's a quick burst of movement, and then there's a lull in the action. Then a quick burst of maneuvering, then another lull. But the problem with most fighters is that they're both going at the same time, and they're both resting at the same time, right? Looks like this, right? You got one guy, right, and his opponent doing the same thing, right? But what if you did this, right? What if you did this? Right? What if you flipped it? What if you matched your rest periods with his spikes and matched your spikes with his rest cycle? Here, you've relaxed everything in your body that wasn't being used to protect yourself against chokes, cover targets, whatever, so that when he locks on for his rest cycle, you can go into action, right? And just make him think that you're much, much stronger than he is, even if you're not, okay? I remember one time I was training with a student. This guy was a bull, right? He was like a farmer, really, really, really strong. And he ended up getting me one of these body chokes with his legs. And I was just bent over, and he was just squeezing the crap out of my lungs, and I could barely breathe. So what I did was I just rested everything except some muscles here to keep my rib cage from going, right? And when he went into that rest period, I was literally able to lift him up and bang him into the floor till he let go. Now I don't have time to keep going into all this because there really is a lot to this one little hidden secret. But if you start to explore this, you'll see what I mean. If you're interested in taking it further, I'll be teaching a lot about this during the upcoming Daikomyosai seminar. I'm also going to be sending out an action guide in a few days that recaps what I just taught you and some other stuff added along with that. So watch your email for that, assuming that you're on the list to get these bonus lessons. Like I said, if you're not, you can get them by either clicking the link below, or if you're watching this on like YouTube or something like that, there'll be a link, right? Or by just filling in the subscription form if you're on the blog or the website. So that's it for now. This is Shidoshi Miller from Warrior Concepts, and I'll see you in the next lesson.